Hey guys, this is White Manga here with a video on Copic markers. So this is going to be a simple Copic marker tutorial. If you watch one of my latest videos, I have a tutorial on refilling Copic markers. So the reason why I haven't used my Copic markers in a while, because most of them have dried out. So I made a how to refill video, and y'all can watch that if you have Copic markers that are dried out. There'll be a link somewhere in the somewhere on the screen. So these are my Copic markers. I have the Chow. They're sketch markers and they are original markers. Sketch lasts longer, and original Copic markers last the longest, and they're the biggest. They have this, I think, square kind of shape. And some of the refills, for example, is something like, it looks something like this, and they refill one particular color. So that would be the the B93, which is a shade of blue. If you have Copic markers, you know what I'm talking about. So let's get into it and how I use the Copic markers. There are different styles to coloring with Copic markers, so I'm just gonna go with a simple approach for this video. So stay tuned. Okay guys, for with me, when I'm coloring, I generally, at least for black characters, I tend to use the E71 and what's it called? Champagne. Champagne, yes. Anyways, so yeah, just watch me go at it. I like to go with a light touch, but before I even go on it, because this is traditional work, and most traditional work, once you touch it, that's it. It's permanent, unless you're scanning and you work digitally and fix some things. But I like to be careful, and I like to see what I'm going to do. How it's I have a good idea of how it's going to look. But for the most part, yeah, this is what I want. This is the color I want. And also when coloring with Copic markers, you generally like I said, there's different styles of going at it. Some people color everything in, but some people like to leave some white spaces to show like highlights. Maybe there's a white light on the skin somewhere, some spot, kind of like the hair, how we have these highlights on the hair that really make it pop out and feel more like hair. I mean, some people have their style where the ink is completely flat on there and there are no highlights, and that's fine. But it's fine depending on your style, as long as you're consistent. But here we're having a different approach. And even here for hair, when you have highlights like this, unless the comic is black and white completely, these tend to be left white. But with Copic markers, I'm actually going to go over these highlights, and you see it when I'm done. So yeah, let's get into it, and you will see how I approach with the Copic markers. And normally with Copic markers, so you don't have that stroke of the markers, you can actually go with a some kind of circular motion, and that seems to help. The kind of ink I used here was the Leader 6. There's some markers, there's some kind of ink that there's some types of ink that if you go over with Copic markers, it can smudge, but we're not going to have that problem, because first of all, the ink is dry, but it's the Leader 6, and the Leader 6 tends to be less smudgy with Copic markers, so I'm kind of safe there. So you can go with this circular motion and have it feel, flattish, in some way. She has this very, unique looking mohawk. You also establish, you establish your light source. So the light's kind of coming from here a little bit. Even though I'm still going to go over it, I'll go over this spot again, because sometimes, with Copic markers, once you go light, then you can actually, the way I've already gone to like the parts I want to be really dark, then I can go over everything like really light-ish, but still leave some really white spots. The spots I want to be white, and still leave them white. Yeah. For those of you wondering who the character is, this is a character from my manga, Apple Black, which is available, at least the first 3 chapters are available free for reading online. I'll leave links below. And she's Sophia Miri, and she makes her first appearance in the comic in chapter 3. And you know, she is, especially in this first arc, a very important character. As you know, people who are subscribed to Saturday AM, which is where my manga is serialized, the bi-weekly shonen manga magazine, where y'all can check it out. For those subscribed, will soon realize how important she is to the first arc, at least the first major arc. Okay, guys. Here's the next part is you know, figuring out the shadows. So what some people do is, at least for the skin, you know, they are done for the most part, but others tend to go a little darker. So this was champagne, and this is maroon, which is E77, and all that work is, well, it's just a really darker version, and you know, you can look at it that way. But I'm going to use it for the most part in the hair, because you know, kind of to separate the hair and the skin, you know. So I'm going to do that, and maybe put a little bit in the shades just to allow it, you know, the shadows and the lights, kind of let it pop out a whole lot more. For the most part, I'll use it in the hair. And you know, when you're done with stuff like this, you kind of adapt the same methods basically to the rest of the drawing. So I'm just going to do a quick run through the whole thing, and y'all can watch. And let me know what you think in the comments. And if you have any questions, also leave that in the comments. You know, I'll get to them as fast as I can. And you see for the whites, you know, is really the place, since you know the majority of her clothes, you know, the color of her clothes white, so we're gonna leave most of it white, but the shade is gonna be, you know, a shade of gray, which is a warm gray, which is the W1. And maybe you can even add a little more depth with W3, and because it goes W1, W2, 3, 4. You know, the higher the numbers, the darker the shade of gray. So 1 is kind of like the lightest. I'm kind of using the number 5 for the really dark spots, I think. It's up to you if you want to use it. Some people actually use different colors for shade. Sometimes you might have a really light, let's say a really light color, maybe a bright yellow, and they go over the shade. They go over the shade of the whole drawing with, say, a blue or a dark blue. And sometimes it has those kinds. It has different kinds of effects. Like I said, it really depends on your style, but just be careful with mixing certain colors together, because you might mess up the tip of the brush and the brush in general. For gold, I tend to have more or less shiny stuff, because it's gold. It's supposed to be really shiny. It's a little different. And then I allow that sit. So in the hair, I added in a color. Like I said, you don't leave the, at least for me, in my style. Some people do. I don't. You don't. I don't leave the white highlights completely white. I have some at the edge of it just to show more light, just like here in the side of the head. Just to show highlights and all. But for the most part, I color in the highlights, and I use the B45 when coloring the side of the fan. Use the E57, the light walnut, and the darker shade of that, which would be an E49, dark bark. I used the putty for this same color with here, same color over here, and that's a YG91 putty. Yeah, so for the most part, this is it, and I will be back with a video with the final touches. But before I go, remember you can read my comic Apple Black. There's a link below in the About section. To read the first 3 chapters free. Other chapters are being the rest of the chapters are being serialized on Saturday AM. And that is a bi-weekly magazine. It's $5 for a whole year, and you get it's bi-weekly, 20 issues, a bunch of comics in it. You can check out the other comics on the Saturday AM website. I'll leave a link to that, so y'all can explore. And there was a sample on there's a sample magazine on the site. You can also check that out to if you're thinking of subscribing, a good idea of what you're subscribing to. You can buy individual issues for $1.99, but I think $5 for a whole year is, I think, the best price in comics anywhere ever, in my opinion. Anyways, so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. I'll be back with similar tutorials like this. So yeah, I think I'm rambling now. Pretty much. Alright guys. I'll be back with the final piece.
Just don't forget to like and favorite this video. Subscribe for more if you want more. Click on the annotations for the videos that are featured. You can learn stuff from my tutorials, or learn just a whole lot more about Apple Black as a whole. For details on what Saturday AM is and what it what's about, there'll be links in the description for you guys to go check that out. Leave a comment on the video you want to see next, whether it's a tutorial video or a video you want from me explaining anything about the manga if you have read it. And if you haven't read the manga, there is a link for you to go read it in the description below. The description or the about section below will also have links to things that you might find interesting. Facebook page, Whyt Manga Facebook page, Saturday AM Facebook page, or you can tweet at me, or you can just tweet, spread the word about the manga. Any support is much appreciated. You can hashtag Apple Black, or just tweet at me. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. This is Whyt Manga, and I'm out.